Awesome. Thanks, Henry. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the PGG podcast. I don't even know what podcast it is today because we don't have our trusty little sign thing. Because we have moved the set, everybody. We are now in the PGG basement, as you can tell by the dingy environment that we're in.
Formerly Sex Dungeon.
Yeah, formerly the Sex Dungeon. We've renovated it, and it's now all the sex things are off camera over there.
Yeah.
But budget allows us to only to be able to, things are tough at PGG. Views are down. You
think the YouTube channel's doing rough. The Pornhub channel's the one that's really struggling. That's why we've had to move the sex wing to the other side of the room. Because it's just not profitable.
Right, okay.
Verified, what do they call it? The Pornhub community.
We're like
the amateur.
We're like a minute in and you're already making sex jokes, brilliant.
I mean,
Henry, everybody, Henry Cooper. This is he. I am Gareth Evans. For those of you who weren't familiar already, but this is the podcast. Let's get back on track for now. This is the podcast. It is podcast 8, right? This is podcast number 8. We don't have our Fawlty Towers reference or anything. I feel out of sorts right now. And for those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast provider and not watching this on YouTube, then you don't know what the hell we're talking about right now.
It's all lost on you.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Probably not missing out on much, to be honest.
No, that's it. But we have got loads of games to talk about today and loads of other things to talk about. We missed last week because of illness, but we're back with a vengeance and hopefully we'll make up for it today. So what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which is out at the end of this month, in 2 weeks' time, in fact.
2 weeks.
We're going to talk about Days Gone and the previews that have been released over the last couple of days, and also we're going to talk about a game that was released this week called The Occupation, and also we're going to take some Patreon Discord questions as well as some of the comments from the videos that we published this week, which will be all pretty fun. We're going to start with Henry.
We'll start with The Occupation.
Oh, you don't want to start with Sekiro?
Oh, we can start with Sekiro.
Yeah, I thought Sekiro.
We'll go Sekiro.
It would be better with Sekiro because I've got some bits to contribute because you're the only one who played The Occupation. So
okay, we'll do Sekiro.
Sorry to pull the rug from under you, but here we go. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah.
It's from Software.
From
Software. Those of you who aren't familiar with From Software, what rock have you been living under for one? Dark Souls trilogy as well as Bloodborne. Lot of highly acclaimed games there.
People are really into them, and they're known for being super hard, and you've really got to grind at them and get good.
Yes. This game releases on the 22nd of March, and it is pretty anticipated. It's published by Activision here in the West, which is a bit of a question mark. We might get into that in just a little bit. So you would assume with this game that it's a whole new universe, whole new lore, whole new setting, whole new everything. It's not a Bloodborne, it's not a Souls or anything. But you'd assume that there'll be similarities. However, that's not the case. It's not going to be like Souls Born game. It's going to be a little different, and it's going to have its own combat
identity
and everything.
So it's very much its own thing that you can come into as a Souls player or a Bloodborne player, or if you're a new person, doesn't matter. I mean, they'll have their fingerprints on it of what they do and it being super hard and certain stuff.
Yeah.
But they're very much nope, it's new way of doing things.
That's one of the, I don't know, the questions over a Dark Souls game, if you ever played one or Bloodborne, is that it's so difficult, right? And it punishes you.
Yeah.
And it hurts you, physically as well as emotionally. Yeah. Right? It's supposed to be punishing. That's the point of the game.
It's borderline self-harm.
It is. It's like, I mean, it could be like you're in a dungeon and you're inflicting yourself, you know what I mean? I mean, there's already parallels here between our situation right now, inflicting self on ourselves, and playing a Soulsborne type of game. But Sekiro is different. Sekiro isn't going to be that punishing, right? So, isn't that true? Please tell me it's true, Henry.
Possibly. It's definitely going to be hard, but they're going for, from what we can gather, going for a more action-based approach. So it's probably going to be a bit more forgiving in certain respects, but possibly harder in others. So the combat system in this one is all about like parrying, right? So it's all timing based. So if you get it wrong, it's really not going to go well for you.
Yeah.
But if once you master it, I think then it's going to be not super easy, but
you're going to get it more. I think what they've done away with in this game is fatigue. Stamina, right? Stamina, fatigue.
Yeah.
So that mechanic's completely gone. So here you're free to use any move at it whenever you like. However, like you said, it's going to be about parrying and get the timing right on the enemy's attacks. So when they're halfway through an animation, or when they're you've got to time it right, so that at the right point when they're halfway through their attack animation, if you get the timing right, then you automatically execute them or something, right?
Yeah. So as they've got health bars and stuff, right? But they've also got it's called like pose or something. So it's like their stance and their form, and every time you parry, you like break that down, and then so once that's gone, they've broken their poise and their like ability to keep attacking you.
They're off balance.
Yeah,
right?
essentially. And then you can hit them with a one-hit kill. You can insta-kill them.
Perfect.
Doing this like fancy animation. There's blood everywhere and shit. Or you can just wind away at them, just like attacking them normally and not parrying, but it's going to take much longer. And you'll just whittle down their health bar a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the new bosses, to make it, last a bit longer and a bit harder, they've got multiple health bars, but you can still one-hit kill them. So if they've got 3 health bars, that'll be 3 one-hit kills, because it'll be 1 to take out each bar, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
From what I gather, anyway.
Interesting. And also, one of the differences from the Souls game, Hidetaka Miyazaki is the name of the director dude, right?
Let's say that.
And I've got a quote from him here. He says, "We want the player to fear death in the same way they did before," referring to the Soulsborne games.
Yeah, they're the kind of games where you will die a lot.
Yeah. So fearing death is going to be present again. But this, he carries on, but this will take on a different shape this time. If we were to just if we were just to add in corpse running, having to go and retrieve something on top of that. Corpse running is when you die, you lose all your souls in one place. Yeah, and then corpse running is running to your corpse to pick up everything you've just lost by dying. If we were to add that in, it would have felt too messy or too desperate or a little too much like there's too much at stake. We want to try different approaches and different switching up the systems. Speaking of death penalties, we do want to incorporate a new sense of demerit or a disadvantage to death. So I think that's one of the kind of takeaways for me right now, is that they're not just relying on the type of gameplay that they've polished up, and Dark Souls is known to be like a genre defined. It's like everything's referred to as the Dark Souls of this, the Dark Souls of that, right? They've pretty much nailed a genre on their own, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're going away from the Soulsborne type formula and trying something new like this, firstly, do you think that's going to piss people off? And secondly, do you think that's just like what creative people should be doing more of?
Yeah, I absolutely think so, because it's not a Souls game. It's not Dark Souls 4. It's a brand new IP, so they're going to try a bunch of different approaches, and this will mean that they can be, creative in different ways, and then they can still go back and do a Dark Souls 4 or a Bloodborne 2 and use those systems and innovate on what was there, but now they're doing something new because they've got different combat approach. Mobility is completely different because the other games were very flat, because you could run and you can walk, but now you can jump and you've got like a grappling hook, so there's a whole like level of verticality added to it, which just looks really fun. The animation of it is so fluid and like elegant, and that also is informing the like stealth approach, which is a big new one, because in the past it's been purely like head-on action focused. Dark Souls is like that's a waiting game, kind of like the parrying system in this, but that's more like block, then strike. Whereas Bloodborne is very aggressive, and you've got to keep moving, and it's all about dodging and then hitting them very aggressively and very hard. Whereas this, stealth in it is something they're really pushing. Apparently, you can't stealth the entire game because there's certain bosses that you have to like engage with, like in a fight or a duel. But now you can, climb a tree, get the drop on 2 guys, take them out real easy.
Yeah,
and just move on.
It does look awesome from the gameplay that's been shown off for the last couple of days. Obviously, there's people have had hands on, and there's been some sort of embargo. We didn't get a bloody invite, did we? Where's the PGG invite for these bloody?
We're probably too mean to Activision.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up is that it's quite strange that Activision are involved here in the sense of creativity, because Activision are one of the biggest kind of cash grab companies in the business, right? Call of Duty every single year, same game or same name, different iteration, just cashing in on the same mechanics, essentially shooting some bad guys, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this From Software game is completely buckling that kind of philosophy, where they're like, we don't care how good our game is or how highly praised this, critically acclaimed this game is. We don't care about any of our past. We want to stay creative and push ourselves forward as a development team, as a studio, and create new worlds, create new experiences, create new games. And this is what we're doing. And stuff. All of you who want Bloodborne 2. For now, at the very least.
For now.
Because this is what we're doing because this is the right thing to do. And I love that from a philosophical kind of point of view. I think it's just the antithesis of a lot of things that are wrong in the industry, right?
Yeah. And they're coming out and just being like, this isn't what you expect us to do, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm all about that.
There you go. So tell us some more other facts about Sekiro that we've known or that we've found out over the last couple of days.
So Sekiro is you. That's who you play as.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a shinobi, which is essentially just a ninja. Just like a...
Who wouldn't want to be a ninja?
Yeah, I mean, ninjas are cool.
There's not enough ninja games.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and there's some stuff about like your mentor or something. I think you're bodyguarding him, and he gets captured or killed, and you've got to go like see what's what and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, this one is going to be much more story heavy, not necessarily like in a traditional narrative way, but the Dark Souls and Bloodborne, the story and lore is there, but you have to really dig for it, and a lot of it isn't in game. It's in like supplementary material, like YouTube videos and guides and stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm
like
not
environmental storytelling and shit.
And I'm not saying the story or lore is bad in those games, but I don't like that kind of storytelling.
It's a personal preference thing, right?
Like the environmental storytelling in the Resident Evil games, I think is the perfect way to do it, because you've got your core story, and like you'll enter an area, and you know why you're there. You're there to find the person or find the key or whatever. But then if you look at the other stuff, you can find out the context and like, why is this building like blown up?
How it is.
Or like fallen apart. Like in Resident Evil 2 Remake, the police station, there's loads of little notes there which tell you like how the situation fell apart there, and how they, like, some civilians came there and they tried to get him out, but then the police department itself fractured and people went off and doing different things.
Yeah.
But that's nothing to do with Leon. Leon's just got to do what he's got to do.
Yeah.
And I really like that. But when it came to playing Bloodborne, I wasn't compelled or invested by anything I read, because it was so convoluted, because it connected to so many other things that I didn't know.
You are in dangerous territory here.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bloodborne is so well received. The fact that you didn't like
overrated.
Well, the fact that you didn't like Bloodborne. I mean, I've never played the fucking game, right? But I've heard great things about it. The fact that you didn't like it doesn't mean it's a bad game, everyone.
No,
doesn't mean that Henry's stupid, everyone. Doesn't mean that it's a console scrub, everyone. I'm just going to throw that out there. It doesn't mean that at all. It's probably true, but it's not because of the Bloodborne thing.
No, I don't hate Bloodborne. I just... For me, the difficulty I was fine with. Like, it was hard, and I was into that. And like, bits of it I did want to kill myself.
I just hate being punished. I hate being punished so bad for a mistake. I'm still learning, man. It's like life. Imagine you made a mistake in life, and then you had to go back a whole week of your life in order to fix that mistake. Right?
Yeah.
It'd be like, well, this isn't fair. This is just not fair. We're so punished. I don't know. I just never.
Well, the thing that got me with the difficulty wasn't that it was hard. It was just that there wasn't like a motivating factor to get through it, other than to get through it for like the sake of it. Like I wanted to complete it so I could be like, oh yeah, I've finished Bloodborne, I've accomplished this because it's hard. And I get that is a lot of what the appeal is. But if the story was there and I had like a real motivation, I would have been more into it and more forced through it. Yeah, because there is some really weird, interesting lore about it, like the big amygdala monsters who are sort of something to do with like space and gods and shit. It's really weird, and I'm like, that sounds amazing, but you've just not presented the story in a way that I resonate with.
I do love a third-person action game, and mainly focus around the action. Now, what we know about Sekiro is that you will keep the same sword from beginning to end, right? The progression in the player progression is all around gaining new moves and things like that. So there's no loads of. I'm assuming there's not loads of inventory things to manage in terms of items and stuff, which is great for me. A third-person action game that is just an action game based on action, and there's no like ham-fisted RPG mechanics where you've got to inventory manage and all that bullshit. I like that prospect.
Yeah, I think so. You get the one sword, and all of the all of like the core combat is based around that. But you've got this like prosthetic arm. I was going to say robot arm, but 1,000 years too early. But you've got this prosthetic arm which has like attachments and stuff on it, and they do different things, but they're not like your primary thing. That's very much like a secondary weapon. So there's one which has like an axe, and you use that to smash shields and then hit them with your sword. Yeah. Or there's one that like shoots fire, which you can obviously set people on fire, and then you finish them off with your katana.
Cool. So there's a lot of other things. We should just run through them shortly then before we move on. Yeah. So you won't lose XP or money on death like in Blood Souls. That'll do. Blood Souls. There's an eavesdropping mechanic, so you gain story and info.
Yeah, so that works with the stealth stuff. So you can like hide in a bush, and people will be like giving you some story info, but they'll also give you like combat hints, like this. They'll probably say this boss like doesn't like fire or something. So you're like, right, I'll use fire on them.
Awesome. That's a good mechanic. You can jump, which you're excited about.
Jump.
You can put 3 exclamation marks.
You can't jump in enough games anymore, and it bugs me way more than it should. Yeah. Jumping is a fundamental of video gaming. It's how Mario moves and fights. Yeah. It's his method of transport and his weapon. So you can jump on board with it. Grappling hook, pretty sweet.
There you go. Dark Souls, yeah, 10 out of 10. Too much jumping. DS and Bloodborne have multiplayer, but this one doesn't. It's a single player only, no multiplayer elements at all.
Yeah, because in those games, people can like invade your world and you can invade theirs, and that is just I hate that kind of multiplayer.
It does make me feel sick, I will be honest. There's multiple endings in this game, so it's more story focused. How many endings? We don't know just yet. What kind of decisions or what kind of paths can you go down? Is it branching? We don't know whether it's just, but we do know that there is New Game Plus, so there's replayability.
Yeah, with these games, FromSoft games, there's like New Game plus. Like every time you finish, you restart and it gets harder.
You can play more when to your heart's content. We don't know how long. Have you any?
No, I don't know how long the game is. I'm not sure.
So we don't know.
But because it's difficult, will completely impact that. Like if you're good at it and you're very experienced with the other games, once you learn these systems, it's going to be much easier for you to go. There's less of a barrier for entry. But if you're like primarily a shooter player, then come to this, it's probably going to take you fucking ages.
Yeah. So that is it. There's a couple of other bit of info here, but I think we've covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That's March the 22nd, which is just over 2 weeks away. Yeah, so that will be an exciting prospect. It's one of the ones that is, it's my game of the month, I would say. You'd say Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I'd say Devil May Cry.
I would say Sekiro's my game of the month. that I'm
I
anticipating.
mean, it's definitely like above the Division. That can get out of here. There's like no marketing for it either. But
yeah, the Division is just a game to itself.
My one thing about this is that I feel like a lot of what I want this to be, I'm probably going to get in Ghost of Tsushima whenever that comes out.
Yeah,
like that setting, that like part of the world, and that will be much more narrative based because it's more of a traditional narrative driven story experience, whereas this is, you know, its own FromSoft RPG thing.
Yeah, and this is more fantasy based as well with the
this
enemy
is a bit more like
types.
fantastical and a bit magical.
Whereas Ghost of Tsushima is more, you know, your historically accurate type of game. So, I mean, I would say that Ghost of Tsushima has more appeal to me in that respect because I'm a big supporter of games that are kind of historically accurate.
You can take feel liberties, but
I mean, these big bosses with like giant twice your size. I just don't.
Ogre things.
I don't like that.
Well, I think FromSoft games they're hardcore games. Like they're not for casual community.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
It does look cool.
So that is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, if I can actually effing say it. Let us know down in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, if you're anticipating this game, if you're excited for it, any of your thoughts about the information that you have or what we've talked about. Let us know. We're going to move on now to...
What should we do? Should we get Days Gone?
It's up to you.
Days Gone. Yeah, we'll do Days Gone.
We'll do Days Gone. We're on this theme.
So, Days Gone is, I mean...
What is it?
Big open world zombie game, but they're definitely not zombies. They keep trying to make that abundantly clear. They're not zombies, they're freakers.
This is Sony's only confirmed game coming out this year. So this is Sony's game of the year so far that we know of.
Yeah, that's the caveat.
So this is a Sony exclusive game made by Sony Bend Studios. And we've had a lot more. Obviously, people again have been invited to hands-on previews. Where was our invite, guys? Come on, this is pre-GG we're talking about. We might be in the basement now, but we can still play games. Not that we're upset about that. Days Gone is one of my most anticipated games of this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So
because we don't know when the other Sony ones are coming out.
Yeah, of all the confirmed games this year, Days Gone
definitely confirmed.
Would be up there, right? For me, definitely.
For Sony wise. Big open world zombie thing. Very much a cross between The Walking Dead and Sons of Anarchy, which to some people probably doesn't sound good, but to me that sounds awesome.
It sounds like the best concoction.
Hopefully season 1 The Walking Dead more than what it is now, because that season is good and the rest of it,
you say Walking Dead, I say The Last of Us. I feel like The Last of Us is such a place in my heart, and Sons of Anarchy is one of my favorite TV shows, and if you just mix them together and just add a little bit of open world
just a little
elements in there, shake it all up and then serve it up in a nice juicy cocktail, then I would smash that cocktail. And that is why I'm excited for Days Gone, right? I will be honest. Although if you leave the last season of Sons of Anarchy out of this, out of the cocktail, please just take that ingredient and just throw it away, because that was just a shit show, and I don't care what anybody else says. The final season of Sons of Anarchy, I'm ranting again now, was shit, but I will stop it. So Days Gone, just give me that biker life.
Yeah, man.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because you're a biker.
Just give me that biker life.
Sorry, just for the liberal journalists. You're a grizzly white male, because they can't make that abundantly clear enough, and they get very upset about it.
Making reference to the IGN video on YouTube,
their video was fine.
The guy rolled his eyes. Apparently, he says he rolled his eyes when he learned he was a grizzly white male.
The video was fine until he said that. I'm like, this is just completely irrelevant.
Like, why is that a thing other than scoring points with your peers? We're going political now. Yeah. We shouldn't be.
Yeah, we'll bounce past
IGN. Fucking hell, IGN.
But yeah, open world game, and people are generally quite into it. The impression I'm getting is that it doesn't really break any new ground, doesn't push any boundaries, but is just solid in what it does.
Yeah.
And lacks a lot of the just fluff.
Yeah.
I think GameSpot called it a no frills open world experience, which sounds really good to me, because there's none of this, collect a bazillion fucking feathers or climb every tower. It's an open world space which you can exist in and explore, and you get a bike, man.
You get a
That's
bike.
just so cool.
Yeah. The lid was blown off the game when Game Informer featured it for a whole month at some point last year, and they played the whole first hour, and the impressions from that footage back then, I can't remember when this was that the game just looked boring, right? And I was excited up to that point, and then having looked at how the game plays, I felt like, there's something not quite right with that, with the balance of gameplay features here. There's something that's just missing, right? So since those impressions that Game Informer released, my excitement for the game has been tempered. So, however, having read and seen some of the footage and read some of the reviews that are previews that have surfaced over the last couple of days, my excitement has refreshed and has come anew, because it feels like the development, because at the time they hadn't announced when the game was going to be, when the Game Informer guys covered it, I think it was March or something last year, they hadn't announced when the game was going to release. So I think they also delayed it from February to April as well. They've delayed it this year. So I feel like they've taken the feedback that they had at the time to heart, and they've tried the very best to address a lot of the concerns that they had back when the Game Informer previewed.
I've really noticed from the new gameplay footage that's coming out is like the gun like sound effects. Because I can't speak for how the guns feel, but that's one of my worries, and is a bit of a criticism that people have at the moment, is the way they feel. But the guns sounded super tinny in the first one, like a BB gun, like an air gun.
Yeah.
But now they've tweaked that, and they sound much better, and the sound design altogether just seems better. And for a game that looks as pretty as it does, I think you need to have solid sound as well, because otherwise it will just be missing.
I mean, it's just that it's that ingredient in the mix that makes the world feel a bit more visceral. It's that, if the sound's not right, especially because it's the world that's selling me this game more than anything. It's being in that post-apocalyptic zombie or freak or whatever you want to call them type environment, where you are a biker, you get to ride a bike around, and it is open world, and you've got a lot of freedom. There's a lot of elements there that appeal to me. But if something as basic as having sound that isn't quite nailed, isn't quite right, it can quite detract from the overall immersion and feel of it. So hopefully it will be a better game from those early reviews, having time to
because they've
reflect on some of the criticism.
They have shown off quite a lot. Like, I've seen a couple of these people who had previous been like, they haven't really shown a lot, and I feel like they've shown loads. There's loads of new gameplay. There's always something coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, they have little lulls, but when they do put something out, it's not just like one little 50-second trailer. It's like, here's half an hour of new gameplay or something.
We are pretty close to launch now. It's 26th of April. I don't think we mentioned that earlier. 26th of April it's coming out now.
So that's not too long.
Yeah, so what else have we learned about it? Or what else do we
people
know?
seem to be into the protagonist, despite being a grizzly straight white male. They seems to be quite into him and being quite interesting. Apparently, there's a lot of cutscenes. Like, it's quite story heavy. Apparently 6 hours worth of cutscenes.
Well, that's interesting.
Which is a lot.
That is.
And so long as they aren't, 6 hour long cutscenes.
What, Hideo Kojima like?
Yeah. I mean, I do love them.
Yeah.
But I just want to get to the game. But yeah, all that I'm into, because I like a good cutscene. I mean, I think it's a great way of getting the story across quickly. It's good. It's a good way to do an exposition dump.
No, exactly. I agree, especially in an open world game.
Yeah.
Where a lot of your time is just going to be a lonely kind of traversing the world, doing missions or whatever. To have that bit of time out and just chill out for a couple of minutes and watch some exposition, then
something I think it's look pretty,
Yeah, a nice balance.
Yeah, and the story is something that I will be looking for in this kind of game, especially because he's a biker, and I quite like the idea of biker culture, and because he's a nomad, right? So he doesn't. So before the apocalypse, when you're a nomad in biker communities, you don't subscribe or stick with your one club, right? So you're with them, you wear their patch and have all of their branding, but you do your own thing. You live outside.
Yeah, so you might be a member of the Sons of Anarchy, for example, but you're not with like the San Francisco branch. You're traveling between these different
doing like
clubs.
odd jobs for, like with them. But
so although you will be a member of the biker gang, you will not be any one of the divisions. You will not be affiliated with any of the divisions. You're a nomad. You're a free spirit, essentially.
And he's seems to be like that with the rest of the humans in the world. Because there's other humans who have like camps, some element of society starting to come back.
Yeah.
So they're set up, and he doesn't, belong in any of them, doesn't live in any of them, but he goes to them and he knows people by name, and he does jobs and then fucks off to go do his own thing, which I think is cool.
Yeah. So what do we know about the factions? How many different enemy type or kind of factions in the game? So we know that there's like the humans where you can go to the camps.
Well, there's different types of humans. So there's the camps, like friendlies. They'll be there doing their own thing. Then there's other like biker gangs who they'll like try and steal your bike and break it down for parts if you leave it. So when you get off your bike, that's where it stays. Unlike on Red Dead or something where you have a horse, you can just whistle for it. If you get off, that's where it's staying unless you go back to it. Yeah. And if you leave it for too long, people are going to go with it and fuck with it. So they're going to try and do that. So obviously you take them out. There's some weird like cult group who have all like covered themselves in scars and they look really weird. They're called like the Reapers or the Reavers or something like that. Which is
they're the ones that they worship the freakers apparently. So they cut themselves to make themselves look like them or something like that. Yeah,
something weird like that. And I love a good post-apocalyptic cult when the like primal shit of humanity starts coming out in really weird ways. And then there's your freakers, which are essentially zombies but not quite, because I think the distinction is that they're not dead. They're infected and their mind is warped and stuff. Yeah, but they live in the world and they have behavioral patterns and they sleep, they eat, they probably shag.
They procreate.
Yeah, sure. I mean you got to do what you got to do. So they'll come out more in force in certain times, and they build nests, and you've got to clear out the nests.
Hibernating stuff. Yeah, that's true. And apparently, when you clear out a nest, you can fast travel.
Yeah, that then becomes a fast travel thing,
which is an interesting,
good way to do it.
So one of the more notable things to come out of the last couple of days is the creative director John Garvin. In an interview with the BBC, he said, quote, the world is a whole set of interacting ecosystems, talking about all the different animals and creatures. And
they call it a freakosystem. Freakers. I think I've heard them say that.
Ecosystems that are all doing their thing, whether you're there watching or not. So they will attack each other. The freakers will, kill a bear if they see it or whatever, or other enemy encampments or whatever. I like that idea. I like the feeling, at the very least, that the world is persevering in your absence.
Because there's the humans, the infected, and then wildlife like bears and shit. And if they're all behaving with each other, that's really interesting. And also, you can then manipulate those systems to your advantage. So you can be like, oh, there's a few humans there. There's a few too many for me to deal with. But if I lure these freakers in, they'll just wipe them out and I can do what I got to do.
And that's an awesome little mechanic there where you can kind of manipulate these factions against
it's unclear how easy that's going to be to do in like an emergent way where you can do it like kind of when you want. But people have said that there are moments which kind of make it obvious you can do it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a conveniently placed horde there. If you trigger this mine, it'll open the door for them. And they'll come through.
Awesome. So that was the thing that stuck out for me. I don't know what are you looking forward to in the game, Henry? Is it something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, for sure. I'm really into the setting because they call it high desert because it's set in Oregon, right? So it's all like mountainy and dense forests, and I think that's an area that in open worlds we haven't really seen that much of. because there's bits in like The Last of Us which are very much that kind of area.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I've been able to explore it, and I think it's just another unique environment to check out.
Yeah.
Because I've done open worlds in cities so many times. I've done like deserts and all that crap. And I think this is a slightly different, not massively different, but it's.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is said by quite a few of the outlets, is that it just feels a lot of the elements are very generic in terms of open world elements,
stuff we've seen before,
but it's still fun.
Yeah,
right? And I get that as a criticism, but at the same time, it depends how many Assassin's Creed games you have to review in a year.
Yeah,
do you know
exactly.
What I mean? Or it depends how many Far Cry games that you have to review in a year. If you are a reporter from or a news gaming journalist, something like that, and you've got to play these games, and you just see another open world game, and you're going to call it generic because you play all of them, but not everybody plays all of them, right?
So like, I very much intend to play this, but in the lead up to it, I'm going to try and avoid other open world games. Like I've been playing a bit of Red Dead again recently. I've kind of gone back to it, doing some of the like side missions. But in the lead up to Days Gone, I'm going to kind of leave that because I don't want to have too much open worldness, and I'll probably swap to like a more linear thing. Yeah.
It all depends on how long it takes to complete as well. You think the latest Assassin's Creed was 60 hours long. I mean, that's way too, I mean, we've got a question about this later on, so we'll touch on it later. But that is too long, for sure. Also, the thing that strikes me about Days Gone is there's so many parallels for me with Horizon Zero Dawn. Not just in the case that it's like a new world, Sony exclusive, and but it's the fact that it is a generic kind of open world. And the thing with Horizon Zero Dawn is that there were a lot of generic aspects to the world in Horizon Zero Dawn and the gameplay as well. But they did all of those aspects of open world in the very best way, and it was more than the sum of its parts in that respect. Where Horizon Zero Dawn was so critically acclaimed and everybody loved it. It did really well, even though it was a generic open world. You can't say it isn't.
And I feel like once Days Gone's out, you could lump loads of the new Sony PS4 games together. Horizon, presumably Days Gone, and like Spider-Man, they're all open worlds who don't necessarily push the book in any crazy new directions, but what they do, they do it really well.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man web swinging and the like characterization of Spider-Man and being Spider-Man is perfectly done. Horizon is such an interesting world with all these robots and stuff going around.
Yeah. I think sometimes when it comes to professional games reviewers, when they throw out generic criticisms like generic open world type of thing, I feel like the only thing that matters is the fun. To me, sometimes it's like, if you tell me, they say it's fun, right? They said it's fun. Tell me it's fun. Tell me what about the game is appealing, and who would this game appeal to? Yeah. Don't tell me whether you think it's generic or not. That doesn't matter to me. I'm ranting about reviews again now.
Because if you never play open world games, if open world games just aren't your thing,
it's not even applicable then, is it?
It's like if you... Oh, I really like first-person shooters. I love Battlefield, Call of Duty, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh, well, I ride a bike in the real world.
Yeah.
This game allows me to be a biker. That's cool. And then you pick it up and be like, oh, wow, I've never played a game like this before.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I'm going to stop ranting about games reviews.
Quickly, circling back to how long it is, I don't think it was like confirmed, but in one of the previews they were talking about it is fun, but it's the question of how fun it is and like whether it can be that fun for 30 hours. And I don't know if that's like a confirmed length of time or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they were ballparking it.
Okay.
So 20 to 30, which is it's pretty long.
Well, there's 6 hours of bloody cutscenes.
Yeah, so
it all depends on whether you can. I mean, an open world game, it depends what your approach is, especially with the stealth, because stealth usually takes a little bit longer than if you just take out an outpost with all out action. But I mean, you could assume it's around 30 hours. You'd want a 30-hour experience if it was an open world game. You'd feel like you get your money's worth then.
Yeah.
So that is it for Days Gone. I think we've covered a lot there from what's recently been talked about. Maybe we will talk about that again in future. If anything sticks out about Days Gone that we haven't covered, that you feel about the game, how do you feel you're anticipating it? Let us know down in the comments, as usual. So now we're going to talk about a game that released this week. A game that we featured on the channel over a year ago. We went to EGX and had an interview with one of the developers of a game called The Occupation. Now, this is a game by White Paper Games. They're a studio based in the UK, in the north somewhere. I don't remember whether it was outside of Manchester or something. They're based. A small team, just over 10 people. And they made the game The Occupation. It finally released this week. You've played it.
Yeah.
And tell us about it.
All right. Well, so from their Steam page, I've got their little description here. Your role is to uncover evidence as a journalist by sneaking through restricted areas and questioning people on their actions through a series of one-on-one interviews. All this takes place in a detailed, system-driven world where people will react to your actions and where time is your biggest enemy. At White Paper Games, we focus on worlds that feel lived in through non-linear spaces and objectives that can be solved with multiple approaches. We love games with a strong narrative drive that tackle important social issues and aim to set the standard within our work. So, you're a journalist, and
this is an unique setup, right? For a game, you've got a comment on how creative this vision is for a game, because this is a game that's set in real time. So if you just stand there in the middle of a corridor and wait for 10 minutes, if you go for for your tea or whatever, you come back to the game without paused it, the game would have carried on without you, and people will be in different places depending on what time of day it is, right? So, that as a concept in itself is pretty cool. And just think about the problems involved with putting a game like this together as a creative team, as a small independent team. There's got to be a lot of challenges there.
So like you've got these interviews that you have, and it's like, so you get to the office at, I don't know, 4:00, and your interview's at 5. That's one real time hour. And if you don't do anything when it comes to 5 o'clock, you can walk in, you can have your interview, you can do whatever. But in that hour, what you're supposed to do is kind of explore the facility and kind of go in places you shouldn't.
Seek clues.
Yeah, and figure out what's what, and gain questions to then ask them. And they're like, well, how did you know that? But it's because I went in here, hacked the door, logged on the computer, got some secret files that I shouldn't have seen, but I have seen them, so what are you going to do? Because you're this journalist, and there's this, essentially a bombing of this, like, I can't quite remember what they are. I think they're like a political agency or something like that, political party. And there's a bomb that goes off because they're about to release this act that will change the face of immigration, and like it's going to stop mass immigration. And there's pros to it and cons to it, a lot of, like, stuff in the real world. And you're there to figure out why the bomb went off and whether the person who was accused of it actually did it, and all this other sort of stuff. And I think that's really interesting because it's a pure stealth game, if that makes sense. Like, stealth is literally everything. There is no combat whatsoever. It's not like, oh, you can sneak through and then you can, like, choke out a guy and like get rid of his body, or like throw a knife at him and kill him, whatever. It's pure stealth and avoiding being seen. And that is both a strength and a weakness, because
the game's first person, right? So how does that translate?
Well, so you can, like, duck under tables and stuff. And
is it easy to, because spatial awareness is critical in stealth games, right? Is it easy to gauge if you're hidden? Or
there's really useful musical cues which come on, and they're very distinctive. Like, if there's one that there's a person nearby, or you're being looked at, and stuff like that. And I had subtitles on, and it also then came up at the bottom saying, entered restricted area, like, note, like, musical cue, which I thought was a good way to do it. And I love stealth games. I've said it 100 times. And the approach to this is great, but I do feel like in some cases the stealth just doesn't provide me with enough options, because when I'm in, like, a secret place where I'm not supposed to be, the security guys come in, I don't really have any other option other than to, like, hide under a table
You can't just knock him out.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want to be able to take him out, but I want to be able to like maybe throw something to distract him.
I see.
Or like a rock or trigger something else to get his attention away so then I can move it, because it's either hide or get spotted.
Yeah, I get you.
And often you don't have that much in the way of hiding places, and it's just kind of squat behind the table while he walks around and you just avoid his cone of vision and you're fine.
Yeah.
Because most of the time I messed it up was because I got caught because I was trying to do something more than
you were able to. Yeah, outside of the realms of what the confines of the game.
But that also is one of the kind of good things about it, because you don't really fail. Like when you get caught, it's not game over. You get taken to the like security office with the head of security, and he's like, "All right, don't do it again. You're here to, interview people. Don't stop going into restricted areas. Do it."
And off you go.
Yeah, but then if you get caught again, and that takes time.
Yeah.
Time out of your window to do stuff.
Yeah.
Then if you're spotted again, he's like, "Right.
Really, really don't do it this time.
Really don't do it again." But if you do it again, then he like kicks you out.
I see, yeah. So you get 3 strikes.
Something like that, yeah. And I was in one of the areas looking at stuff, and the stealth just went wrong. Like I was hidden behind something, but I wasn't, apparently. So I got caught, and then that kicked me out of that whole area, and I couldn't then do that interview.
I see.
So it completely lost that part of the
investigation.
Investigation and narrative. And I'm like, that is kind of cool, but if it was better in certain respects, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. So what kind of person comes and finds you? Are they office workers? Is it a cleaner? Is it, and are there ways for you to have preemptively diverted those people from catching you in the first place?
So you're in an office, but there's not like loads of people there. And I think part of the justification for that is that it's on a Saturday, so it's just not full. There's a few people wandering around, and they've all got names and that. But there's also these 2 security guys, one who's just kind of sitting at a desk, and one who's actively wandering around. And then there's also this janitor who, if he spots you in a restricted area, nothing happens. Like, it's not like he goes and tells on you. But I think that's kind of connects to who his character is, because without being spoiler. Yeah, without trying to spoil it, he's got certain views about certain things that
he doesn't mind so much.
Well, like he would align with a possible approach for you, if that makes sense, because you can go left or right, and he is okay with left. Yeah. So he won't tell you off because it benefits you if you go that way, kind of thing.
Either that, or he was told as a kid, as many people should have been, that snitches get stitches, right?
Yeah.
So did you enjoy the game? Was it fun, Henry? These bugs aside.
It definitely was fun. It was very stressful. Having the time limit, because it's not like a big counter on the screen. It's not in your HUD. You pull up a watch, and then you can set like a timer. So if there's something happening, so say your meeting is at 5, and you know, okay, it's past now. I've got half an hour real world to get there, but I might not remember that. So you can set a timer until 5 minutes before. So 5 to 5.
Just to remind you.
Now I can leave where I am, get over there, and do the meeting.
That's a nice little mechanic.
I definitely had a lot of fun, but yeah, it was as good stealth should be. It was high pressure when stuff was going on. It was very like, okay, focus. But my main problem is that I wanted a little bit more variety when it comes to stealth, and not getting like messed up for stupid reasons, because then that did impact.
You feel like it's unfair then if you're trying to do something, but the game restricts you from getting out of a situation. You're being creative in the way that you're approaching the problem, but the game restricts you in terms of you're not able. It doesn't facilitate your creativity like that.
Yeah, and especially because there's so many ways the thing can go depending on what information you find out. Your means to get that information are varied, but if you're trying to avoid contact with people, that is so limited in comparison.
Yeah.
So that's a bit annoying.
Gotcha.
I also wish you had an actual like inventory system, because you can pick up stuff. You can pick up like notes which have information environmental storytelling, which is a brilliant example of how to do it well, because you read like, oh, this person was emailing that person, they've got a bit of a feud going on or whatever. But once you've read it, the key information comes up on like you've got like a folder with objectives written on it, essentially. It's the in-game item. But if there's something which isn't like essential to progression, it's not always stored. So you've got to just remember it. Like there'll be, oh, here's a code to open this door, but there's nothing in there that's like necessarily going to advance the story, but it's just a bit more. So
is it like the Metro Exodus approach where you're mapping all the info in real world items? There's no UIs and stuff.
No, there's pretty much no UI. So all your objectives are on this folder, and you whip it out, and it's all there. And then your actual watch is a watch.
That's pretty cool.
And when you interact with items, they're all tangible in the world. You pick it up and you can spin it and rotate it, because a lot of them you need to, like, if you get an envelope, you need to turn it round and then open the thing. Yeah. And it's like, so playing it on PC, it was click the mouse to grab it and then push forwards or backwards to flip it open. And I did really like that. I thought that was a really nice way to interact with the world.
Make you feel like it feels more tactile. It might be pretty cool thing to bring it to VR, I guess, because it's a first-person game.
Sure. Well, like there'll be things where, like, there's these tubes that go in. Yeah, it's in some like you pneumatic messaging systems. You see them in some movies, but I've never really like experienced one in the real world. You stick like a note in a tube, and you put it in this suction tunnel, and it shoots up and goes up to a certain floor. Yeah. Really cool. Like, I'd love to use one. But to like open those, you open the door. So you click, pull back, take it out, spin it, twist the top, pull the thing out. There, all right, I've got it now. And then you put it all back, and you walk away with your thing. Cool. And I really liked it.
Okay, so the game sells for around 20 quid, I'm guessing. Like, not guessing, I've seen it. Like it's $20 or around 20 quid. So would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it to? I think is the most appropriate question.
Very much for fans of like strong narrative-driven things, like What Remains of Edith Finch type.
Yes.
That sort of thing. It's not action at all, really. Yeah. It's all investigative, and I think that's a really interesting like gameplay mechanic. It's a role playing essentially, because you're playing the role of the journalist, and it's not like you're a fighter at all. Yeah. And there's no like dialogue trees or anything like that. It's all exploration and figuring things out.
Okay, so there you have it. It was released on the 5th of March. For those of you who are interested, it is 20 quid, $20 if you're a US citizen. And I think it is available on all of your favorite.
It's on your core.
Yeah, I think it's not on the Switch.
No, I think Switch is the one it's missing, but it's on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. 20 quid, solid price for it, especially because there's so many ways to play it. In terms of what information you get, there's a lot of replayability, and there's multiple endings. So my ending that I got, because I messed it up, and this is what I mean.
Spoiling.
Yeah, without spoiling. But because I messed up certain stuff, and you don't game over. Yeah. I got to the end, and 2 of my options were there, and it wasn't necessarily here's the good one, here's the bad one. It's there's ramifications on both sides.
Got you.
And one of the options I physically couldn't do, like it was scratched out, because I fucked it up, and that was because I failed. Like, it was my fault.
Henry failed.
I'm not very good.
You Henry'd it up,
and I thought that was really cool, and I was just like, "Fuck, that's annoying."
Yeah,
but that would totally make me want to play again.
Yeah, got you.
The Occupation, recommend. Oh, and I don't know if we made this clear. It's set in like late 70s, early 80s England. Like Britain,
England.
So it's got this like that kind of era vibe to it. There's radios that are playing in the office, and they play like quality, like funky old 80s, 70s music, which is great.
Yeah, and the art style is very kind of. I mean,
it reminded me a bit of Dishonored.
Yeah,
it's not quite as like oil painting-y, but it was that kind of thing, very stylish. And there's
very stylized.
Some of the voice acting I thought was really good. Like one character in particular, I thought she was awesome, and then others I was a bit like, not so much. Everyone's got like a different accent in it, which I'm always about. Like there's a Scouser, but she's not like stereotypical. It's not super strong. It's just a little bit.
No.
There's like a Scottish guy. There's an American guy. Good mix.
Well, there you go, guys. That is the occupation. And those is Henry's thoughts. We're going to move on now to some questions from the Discord. Now, if you are interested in asking us some questions and you're a patron, you have to be a patron, you can get over to the Discord channel. There'll be a link on the Patreon page. You can go there and ask us a question, which we will throw into the mix to be one of the questions that we read out during the podcast every single week. And if you're not a patron already and you want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and see what the rewards are available there for you supporting us bring you this content. So without much further ado, the first question is from Earthworm Ben. Would you like to do the honors?
Okay. So a lot of people look at the value of a game by how long it is, but I believe that some games are pretty ignorant of people's free time, whether it's just climb towers, kill X amount of animals, or travel to X. Firstly, having a full-time job running a YouTube channel, what is your take on this? And secondly, would you rather buy a 12-hour masterpiece or a 40-hour average game for the same price?
I think this is a pretty...
Yeah, I think this is a good question.
Easy. I mean, it's a pretty easy answer.
Yeah,
for like me.
I mean, 12-hour masterpiece...
100%. Any day of the week.
100%.
I mean, time is a constraint for me. I can't finish some of the best games out there. I mean, God of War was a grind for me, right? Because it was quite long. I had to come back to it after a few weeks. Red Dead Redemption, I'm finding really difficult to get back in because it's too long. I do like those games, and I just feel like games are just... I think there was a thing in the news recently. Amy Hennig of was it Visceral Games? EA, formerly EA. She's doing her own thing now, but she says that pitching an idea to a publisher in the games world now is so much different to how it used to be. An Uncharted game, which is 8 hours long, just would not be picked up by
out of the door now.
Would not be picked up because it's just not what publishers are looking for. They're looking for these massive, sprawling, huge games, which you could argue that a lot of Ubisoft have got it covered. They've got those games nailed down, right? Ubification and all that. I think that not enough. I think it to the detriment of the industry and creativity. I feel like there's this kind of agenda in terms of publishing and games where they always publishers might always feel like the game needs to be more than it actually does, especially with Ubisoft. Now they're throwing in a grind just to you buy an XP boost and shit like that.
I feel like there's so much ego now when it comes to like game length, and it's like it's something to boast about. Often at like the detriment of the rest of the thing. It's like a long game doesn't mean it's good, but they're like, oh, game is this long and the map is this square miles. It's like, well, yeah, but is it any good?
I think some of the blame has to get down to people who say, oh, $1 an hour, it's worth it. Like if I'm paying for $60, it has to be 60 hours of gameplay. I feel like it's those type of... I mean, I guess it's not blame so much as... it's kind of why this has happened. I don't know, maybe I'm missing the mark there a little bit. But that said, you look at games like The Witcher, like they've been so successful, and that's one of the games that like nobody would argue that it is that it is the right, like, oh, maybe some people would say that it's too long. I don't know. I mean, I've never played it that long. People love that game for what it is, right? So people are always looking to match games that are held high and reviewed really well and stuff. I just feel like there's such a niche or gap in the market now that people just aren't fulfilling. These 12-hour masterpieces, as Earthworm Ben puts it.
Tight experience.
I would much rather appreciate those types of experiences now. I feel like God of War could have been shorter. I feel like there's a point where it just feels like you're just climbing things for the sake of it. And don't get me wrong, when there's sequences that are really great to watch and live through and play in that, but it could have been tighter for me. I mean, that's just my.
No, I think God of War was such a solid length, in my opinion, because I didn't feel like I was exploring for the sake of it. I didn't feel like I was being like pushed away from where I should be because, oh, look, there's 100 collectibles over here.
Yeah.
It did kind of annoy me that in terms of the story, they just kept moving the goalposts. It was like, oh, we need to get here, but here, no, that's not where we need to be anymore.
Yeah, you have to go there.
But that's like a narrative thing more than anything. But no, I thought God of War was really good in terms of length.
No, I understand, and I think that in terms of being ignorant on people's free time, as Earthworm Ben's point was, I do feel like these publishers, there's all these games coming out that are huge and take up a lot of people's time. There's a finite amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And there's only so much that you can play. There's only so much money that you've got. And we're seeing that more and more now in the industry, that these big developers are not selling as many games as they used to in these big franchise series. And you've got to put a lot of that down to the fact that the games are just too long.
Yeah. I feel a lot of them are like, these publishers want their game to be the one that people are playing the longest, so they make it the longest, but they're all thinking the same way, so they all make long games. But people don't just want to play one game forever. People want variety. Even people who are like super into loot shooters, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
Generally, they'll play all of them. They'll play Anthem, Division, Destiny, Diablo. They'll play all of them because you need something different every now and then.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there is a discussion around games as a service and how much of the resources in terms of time and money that those games are sucking out of people's lives. And
when it comes to like having to work full time and all that, definitely gets in the way, because I'm like, there's so many games I want to go back to. Like I want to redo God of War on New Game Plus because I've been wanting, and Spider-Man on New Game Plus because I've been wanting to do that for ages, but I haven't got the time because there's always something new out that I've got my eye on, or like Uncharted 4. I really want to play that again because I've only played it once.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's great as a gamer now because you've got so much choice. Whatever type of game, there's so many choices in terms of high quality games out there. Now we can discuss the issues with certain games in terms of bugs, glitches, being ready day one. There's a lot of those types of issues out there. However, I don't think that the game industry has been in a better place in terms of the amount of quality output that comes out on a monthly basis or yearly basis, you could say. However, I do feel like we're reaching critical mass in terms of how sustainable it is for these big companies to keep churning out these big experiences that are trying to gobble up your time and money for so long that there has to be a price paid somewhere. And maybe that is part of what we're seeing with the Activision layoffs and restructuring within companies and businesses starting to fail now because there's just not enough time and money to go around.
Buckling under their own weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I think we rinsed that question to death. Next question. We're going to tackle this, Metal. Well, we'll mention it because we don't really have any answers for this. But Metal Shark asks, do you think the adoption of Dolby Atmos by the games industry is keeping PC audio back with its limitations of only 128 spatial objects and license costs compared to decade-plus-old 3D audio APIs, or encouraging consumer demand for more immersive audio and helping further experiences in the long term? Unfortunately, Metal Shark, dude, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm not a sound person and I'm not very familiar with Dolby Atmos, and unfortunately I haven't had any time to look into this in order to give you an informed response. However, the good point is that I did notice that people were replying to you after the question, so hopefully those people provided some answers that you were looking for.
Yeah, like even if we don't answer your question on the Discord, put it up anyway because it starts a chat amongst you guys,
and it percolates.
Someone else will give you an answer.
Yeah. If anybody else has any ideas in those realms, on YouTube, whatever, let us know if you think that the adoption of Dolby Atmos by the games industry is keeping PC audio back. Because I certainly have no fucking clue. Next up, do you want to read it?
Yeah, go on. From DK Collie. What game did you love that got panned by reviews? I loved Binary Domain, but it scored pretty low in reviews. Now, I couldn't really think of a game that got panned by reviews because I totally agree with Binary Domain. I loved Binary Domain. I thought it was a really cool game.
What is Binary Domain?
It's sort of like a Blade Runner.
Third-person shooter.
It's like people who are
2012
robots who are like basically human, but they're still not. They're still robots. So there's all this like essentially racial tension in the world about it, and it had interesting mechanic where you could like give your team orders. And other games have done that before, but I don't know, there's something about Binary Domain I really liked. And the shooting in it was amazing, because when you shot the robots, like bits of them like flew off. It was really like impactful. Like you'd be shooting them in the leg and their leg would just completely get ripped apart, because they'd have like armor and then their like base, skeleton essentially. So I really rated Binary Domain. I thought it was really cool.
There's certain aspects of games that really appeal to us individually, and I think if something connects with you and the critics just don't like it because it's another generic open world game or whatever.
Third person cover shooter. Yeah. You could describe Binary Domain at that, but I think it's definitely so much more.
The one that springs to mind right now is State of Decay 2. That got panned. Like, people didn't like it, right? But there's something about State of Decay 2 and the gameplay loop that appeals to me personally. And I understand that objectively it might not have a grand appeal, and that's probably why it didn't get reviewed that well. Did you play State of Decay 2?
No.
But there's something about the survival gameplay that really appeals to me. Let's have a look at the Wikipedia and see what this game was. Metacritic I'm looking for. See what the game was. I think it's like 60. Oh, it's 70%. So that's not so bad. 69%, 70%. That's a reasonable game, and I feel like people give that game shit. Which I mean, and this is the point about game reviews, and this is why I always keep going back to this, is that there's a certain appeal to that game that isn't generic and it isn't across the board, that if you can pick out what's good about the game as a game reviewer, you will be doing a service to those people who will eventually realize that it's the game for them, buy it, and have a great time. That's your job as a game reviewer, to unlock that door for people. Yeah. It's not for you to cast judgment on the game. It's for you to pick the game apart objectively and realize what's good about it, and then offer that up to the people who find that palatable in terms of, who want to consume that type of game. Anyway, and that's my second rant for game reviewers in this podcast. But State of Decay 2, there's something, people find it grindy, right? Gaining resources and then putting them in your camp in order to build up your camp in order to go out again and kill more zombies and gain more resources. And there's a gameplay mechanic there that I find rewarding and wholesome. I can't describe it any more than that. I like feeling on the edge, like I just need to go out and keep surviving. I don't know what it is. I love survival games.
Now, one that I always talk about, but it's not necessarily because it got reviewed badly from journalists, but the community hated it, was the Devil May Cry reboot spin-off thing, because they changed a lot about like the character, and they made him kind of like super edgy, and he didn't have the hair or the style or anything. And if they just slapped a different name on it, there would have been a completely different story, because that gameplay was amazing. I loved it, and I've been realizing in all of the Devil May Cry 5 reviews that it's now cool to say, rather than it's cool to say, oh, I hate Devil May Cry the reboot, it's now cool to say, oh, well, I actually liked it way back then. I was like, well, where the fuck were you when it came out? When people were shitting on it left, right, and centre. It's
never safe to shit on something day one. To go against the grain day one.
Like, everyone's shitting on it. Yeah, it's not perfect. The story's pretty shit, but the gameplay's wicked. But now they're all like, yeah, I actually really like DMC.
So I hope that answers your question, Mr. DK Collie. Anyone else has any suggestions for games that, or any answers for, that's the right word. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, Henry. I think that's the problem today. My brain just ain't working properly. Any games that got panned that you loved, let us know down in the comments. Let's move on to Kona1, who asked the question, are either of you going to check out the latest Skyrim stuff, aka Enderal Forgotten Stories, released to its separate Steam page as easy install mod, but with its own page. I, for one, am super excited for this one, as I have heard lots of praise about it, and it's free for those who own Skyrim LE, which is the Legendary Edition, I believe. Is that what it is? So this is a huge mod, right? This is a game, I forget how long it is. I think it's like 20 hours long of like original story, original voice acting, original everything, right? But it's just like mods the whole game into something completely different, which is awesome. The fact that it's got its own Steam page is testament to the fact that this is like a very, it's such a big project.
It's a community mod, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been made by people who've I don't know whether they got a Patreon going, because a lot of them do that these days, don't they? They get paid by the community in order to crowdfunded in order to develop it. However, and let's read this out for those of you who may not have heard of this. Erendel Forgotten Stories is a total conversion mod for Skyrim that is set in its own world with its own landscape, lore, and story. It offers an immersive open world for all for the players to explore, overhauled skill systems and gameplay mechanics, and dark psychological storyline with believable characters. Now, I love it. I love that this is happening. I love that it exists. It was out on February the 14th. So it's already out. It's been out for a couple of weeks. It has very positive reviews on Steam. 89% of the 1,200, almost 1,300 people who've reviewed it. It's completely free. You can just go to the Steam store. If you have Skyrim LE, you can just install now. Unfortunately, I don't have Skyrim LE on Steam. That is my falling down point right now. I've played Skyrim many times. I think I originally had it on one of the original consoles. It might be an Xbox, right?
I had it on Xbox.
And then I got it on the Switch. Love the game, but I've never bought it on Steam, which is really weird. So in order to get this game, I'd have to actually buy Skyrim LE. I think it's about a tenner, but I don't know. It's one of them things again. Too many games, not enough time, right?
Skyrim is one of those games where, I really wish I was a PC player to like mod the shit out of it. Not necessarily for I've probably said this before. Not necessarily for like the major things. Although stuff like this is awesome. I just love like the little ones, like getting Lord of the Rings weapons.
Yeah.
Or altering the way you hold things. Like there's one where it's so simple. You just put the shield on your back instead of having it on your arm. I think this just little things like that. I'm all about little changes, as well as these massive, fan created things.
I get you, and we've probably incurred the wrath of so many PC elitists who say that Skyrim vanilla is unplayable. Get a PC, damn it, and mod it to death. I get that point of view, but the game is still solid even without mods. Anyway, that aside, I feel like this is something. If I had all the time in the world, I would definitely play it. Like, it looks definitely like something that I would play and enjoy. But unfortunately, my time is my most valuable resource, and unfortunately, this has to be, so many great reviews.
Fall by the wayside.
So many great reviews for it. I don't know. I'm so tempted. I am so tempted. I'm very tempted, Kona. Right. Unfortunately, that's all I've got to feel right now. I'm so tempted.
A massive respect for the people who work on this sort of stuff, because it's all completely, indie funded essentially.
Well, yeah, that's true. And people devoting their time, and right, eventually they might get it crowdfunded and get on Patreon or whatever. But these are the
to write the stories and everything as well, because that's like creativity, and you can't necessarily like work to get that. You just need to like have that epiphany moment when you're writing the story. If it's like to get, okay, here's how I connect plot line A to C. I finally found B. Like there's not necessarily an amount of money that can do that, and the people with the brain power and creative like processes to be able to do that, I think is super admirable.
So this is developed by Shaw AI, who the based in Munich, Germany. They've got their own Wikipedia page. It's this group of modders, German team of modders who have created several Tolkien version mods of Bethesda Works games and Fallout series. So Maya Aranakath, I don't even know what that is. Arctwend of the Forgotten Realm, 2006. Cube Experimental, 2009. Neherim at Fate's Edge. I mean, just think about names, guys. Come on. I mean, it's difficult enough. So it doesn't say here how big they are, but they are very organised, very professional by the looks of it, organisation. We don't have any information of that. If those of you who want to fill us in, if you know anything more about Sure AI, you want to tell us the facts, let us know, because I'm pretty interested. And we have one more question before we move to the YouTube comments. Do you want to do the honors?
Yeah. So this is a second question from Earthworm Ben. Are either you or Gaz interested in the upcoming Mortal Kombat 11 or Samurai Showdown? Now, I'm just not a big fighting game player, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what? My daughter's 10 years old now, right? And she struggles with sometimes expressing herself when she's been put on the spot, right? And one of the things I've been trying to get through to her this week is it's all right to just say no, right? Yeah. It's all right to just say no. So I'm sorry, Earthworm Ben, I'm just not fucking interested. The most long-winded no you'll ever get. Yeah. But no, I'm just not interested in fighting games. So I'm sorry if that offends you, but as we know, you're on the internet. You like to get offended by anything these days, but nothing personal. I just don't like fighting games.
I'm sure it's great if you like Mortal Kombat. It's probably gonna be pretty good, but I'm not really into fighting games. I never have been really. Like even as a kid, like playing them with my siblings and that, I wasn't very good, and I didn't have the will to like get good.
Get good, scrub.
Like there's some things where, I mean, to get good at things you have to practice, right? But I just wasn't motivated to. I don't care. But the only fighting game that I'm actually really quite into is Injustice 2, and that's mainly because it's the DC heroes and the level of customization in that was really cool.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with just not being into something.
Not my thing.
Just not into it.
And I will not have you shame me into liking Mortal Kombat. Although I do think I like Mortal Kombat better than some of the other ones like Tekken and Street Fighter. I prefer the visuals of Mortal Kombat, not just because it's like fucking really bloody. I like the style.
There you go. So let's move on to the YouTube comments. We released a couple of gaming news roundups this week so far. I think we decided that doing it every single day is probably a bit of a stretch because we've run out of news stories by Wednesday. So I think in future, especially next week, fucking hell, my words just not working today. We're going to do 3 next week, gaming news roundups, and see what else happens in between those. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to be doing it. But the ones we released this week were mainly centered around the what was that? The Dead or Alive.
Oh, the Dead or Alive season pass being
season pass
$100 or something.
So that was crazy. One of the videos, and the other one was come on, Henry, be my brain today.
The Last of Us 2 rumored to come out in October.
Yeah. Of course it was. So, do you have any comments for us?
Where are we? Got one here from that Last of Us video. And if you're not aware, we've been bringing back the old joke of the day. Yeah. And some of them have gone down well. Some of them have gone down not so well. But there's mixed responses. So yeah, the what the fuck was it? It was like the joke from this one, the Last of Us one, was something like, what does a werewolf YouTuber say? And the punchline was like and subscribe. And I thought it was really funny. You weren't so keen. But some of the responses were pretty into it. Oh, bloody hell, my phone's just locked. Like this guy. Oof, that joke was awful. And I wholeheartedly approve. Now that you get it. You know it's shit.
Point, yeah. It's a bad joke.
It's supposed to be bad.
It's funny.
Then there's a lot of people who I have a sneaky suspicion are Americans and don't get the same level of sarcasm and whatnot. just not into it. It's like, the joke sucks.
That sucks, man. It's not cool. It's so cringy.
Like, yeah,
I hate you. Kill yourself. And all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But the
if in doubt, just kill yourself.
is it, innit? KYS.
Have you got one ready to go?
I have one. What's the difference? Another
Oh,
joke. What's the difference between a chickpea and a lentil? I wouldn't pay to have a lentil on my face.
Ha!
Boom!
Now that one is
That
is a good joke.
Gold. Literally. Golden shower,
Golden
right?
shower.
Gold. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dan O'Hara, for that.
You got another one about jokes, and it's on the same video as the Last of Us one with the person being positive. Jokes like that are the reason the UK has high levels of knife crimes, which really tickled me.
Yeah.
Because it was like the people just like walking along, you know. Oh, I'm gonna tell you a joke and I'm brighten your day. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad. I heard the most horrific story about something that happened last Friday about one of these crimes that happened in the UK, in London last week, and it was just a horrific story that's kind of like sickened me. So laughing about knife crime, I'm not a snowflake. I'm not going to say it's not funny. It is funny, but I just can't appreciate it because of the atrocities that are happening on the streets in the UK.
But then I think
good joke though.
Gun crime is the same. Like it's still a massive epidemic.
Yeah, a lot of it, especially in America. I mean, you probably attribute it to drugs and gang crime and turf wars and sorts of stuff, right? But this case was different. It was like there was a couple minding their own business and they just got set upon, and then it's like, see you later, R.I.P. And anyway, not to drag the whole thing down, let's move on. Why does this is the Dead Alive 6 video, right? Nathaniel Racy says, why does every insecure person think this game is like porn? It's a legitimately good fighter. God forbid it's different from Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. So, Henry, why are we so insecure? Because we're insecure, why do we think it's like porn? Because we're so insecure.
I mean, when you put a specific mechanic in it that's meant to make the boobs and bums of the girls wiggle better, I mean...
It's nothing to do with insecurity, dude. The game is literally about fucking looking at girls' panties while they're kicking. Not even kicking. The girl punches and her skirt flips up and you see her panties. That isn't my insecurity. That's just fucked up game design.
And to be honest, I think it's more your insecurities that you're like denying that. You can accept that it is a hyper-sexualized game, and that's fine.
And also enjoy it.
Yeah, you can be like, I love the mechanics, but yeah, the girls are fit. Like, I'm into it. Cool. Doesn't make you fucking insecure.
It doesn't make us insecure.
Yeah, sure as shit doesn't.
Mr. Nathaniel Racy.
You can just be...
Just likes his racy games, isn't he?
But they need to be naked. They need to be lightweight so they can fight better. Fuck off.
So I can fap while I'm playing.
Some of the comments on it are just like, oh, what? Like, the only reason this is expensive is because it's charging for, like, it's the same price as porn prices or something. You've got to pay these porn stars.
It was a joke for
It's fucking funny.
Anyway, Birdie Pigeon, on the same, because it's on the same topic, he says, it's called jiggle physics, you Brits. All caps.
Yeah.
Jiggle physics. Like, we should be reprimanded for not knowing it's called jiggle physics.
Tay-tay.
It's just such a bunch of weebs in these comments.
Go get your waifu. Now we're going to get fucking hated.
Everyone knows what jiggle physics are, is one of the comments in response.
Well, I got one, same video, which wasn't that funny, but it's kind of the talking point. You two are bad. You two are too bad. You two are too bad actors to be rage baiting your viewers, so don't. Besides, this has always been DOA's business model. You buy the skins, so the season pass is simply buying all the skins at once. Nothing unusual for the franchise. That does not justify it. Just because they've done it in the past doesn't mean that this is bullshit.
That's true. These types of comments that make my brain hurt from thinking about how stupid some of humanity is. Can you read that again? His opening gambit is attacking us.
Yeah.
And then he justifies the game.
To be rage baiting your viewers, so don't.
It's like we're here with our opinions, right? So he's obviously butthurt about what we've said. So he comes out and attacks us. It's like, well, you're so bad at da-da-da-da-da. So it's a personal attack, first of all. And then he goes and justifies the bullshit, which is charging $92 for fucking added
Skins and a
content.
couple of characters.
What the fuck are you on, dude? You must be... Oh, my...
Like... And people are like, yeah, but it's because there's going to be added more characters over time. Yeah, but it's called Season Pass 1, and it only lasts from April or June or something.
Yeah.
So that's a couple of months. And then they'll do Season Pass 2, where, they might add characters to Season Pass 1, so you might get 3 or 4 for your $92 and all your 60-odd skins. But there's still going to be another one, which is going to cost another $90.
Yeah. I just don't get this
obscene.
These corporate sympathizers. I do not get it. These guys can't make enough money selling one product for a set price and have to stretch it all out over numerous season passes for like very little content, let's be honest. Then they're doing business wrong. Don't justify that bullshit. Don't come to our channel justifying that bullshit. Find another channel who's going to circle jerk you. This isn't that channel. Fuck off.
And the thing is, you can still like the game. That's what you should be upset if you're a fan. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I really like the Dead or Alive series. I think the like mechanics are solid. The gameplay's just fun. But this is bullshit. That's the opinion you're supposed to have.
Yeah, I'm just getting ranty and tired now. That's apologies for everybody who's just trying to chill out and I just keep blowing
a mellow
blowing
time.
hot air. I think I've got one more question. I can't even pronounce this name. It's Caoimhin. Chowmin McCann. That's as good as I can do. Sorry. I got a bloody ad about porn addiction before watching this.
I read that one.
What sort of tags are you guys using?
I mean, that fucking says it all. Dead or Alive is porn.
Well, somebody, in fact, it was Cloney who pointed out to him, ads are tailor-made for your search history, mate. Smiley face.
That was the follow-up, wasn't it? Yeah, it's targeted ads.
And then PN Pride says, ROFL wrecked. So, nice one, Cloney, jumping to our defence. It wasn't our fault. It was your search history, dude.
I got one, and this was on last week's video, because we didn't get to talk about it in the podcast, about the Anthem and the concept of downgrades and whether or not they're acceptable. Someone just misunderstood what I meant by certain things, and I did reply to them to try and clarify. I'm sorry, but I don't agree that some responsibility falls on players. If I see a car and buy it, then I expect to get a car that was shown, not downgraded version, and or delivered to me without wheels that I need to buy as extra. And I totally get what you mean. I'm not saying that you need to be that it's your fault for downgrades. I'm not saying that, but it's more. It's going to happen. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's going to continue happening, and you need to be aware of it.
It's like a self-preservation thing, isn't it? It's like a self-defense. It's a defense mechanism. It's advice. It's practical advice for somebody who wants to defend against getting their hands burned by it. That's all it is. It's practical. It's not saying that you're responsible for it or it's our responsibility to do it. That's not what was said. What it was practical advice.
Yeah, and it comes down to hype as well, because you see a trailer, you naturally if you like it, you're naturally going to get excited. That's exactly what trailers are for. There was another comment, but I couldn't find it. There was something along the lines of all trailers should be completely representative of the final product and all that. I was like, yeah, I get your point. And then he was like, CGI trailers are completely pointless, and I disagree with that. And how no game should be the work in progress tag. And I replied back to him. I'm really annoyed that I couldn't find the comment, because I was like, well, you can't just have a trailer that is raw facts, right? Because trailers, they exist to sell you a product, and you won't buy the product if it doesn't look interesting. And if it's just a series of facts, like it runs this fast, it's got this resolution, it's going to be on this, that's not going to make you buy it. Just reading a body of text that describes something won't make you buy it.
No, that's true. It is obviously a point of where the line should be drawn in terms of misrepresentation and how open and honest you've got to be in the media that you're putting out there, that it doesn't represent the actual product that you're going to be buying fundamentally. So I think it is a grey area, and it is worth discussing, right? There's no black and whites with it, because like Henry said, these companies have to sell products. However, there has to be a limit to what they're allowed to do and say, or the way that they're allowed to represent the products. It's like the old people always draw the comparison with the McDonald's burger, right? You see on the advert it looks one way, but then again when you actually buy a burger it looks nothing like that. But lo and behold, that's just how advertising works.
Like, you can not like it, that's fine. You're not supposed to like it, but you do need to accept that it's likely to continue. Yeah. Because it works. Yeah. And because Anthem did, I mean, its numbers aren't very good, but it still made money.
True. There is an argument, though, that if enough of us band together and say, this isn't right, you have to change it, we generate, enough people talking about it, that generates some sort of controversy that impacts companies like Activision in a material way in terms of loss, revenue, or whatever. That's the only thing that they ever take note to. So if headlines are generated by the outrage and people taking note, and then investors get dodgy stomachs because these things have been talked about in the press, that's what hits them hard. And I think that it is worth discussing these things, and I don't think there's ever like a right and wrong. It's a very, I know, it's a dilemma is what it is.
But when it comes to fully CGI trailers, so long as they there's an actual trailer as well, and I'm not just getting these CGI ones, that's fine. I really like the CGI ones because a lot of the time, as I said in the video, you can put them together and you get essentially a short film. Like the Elder Scrolls ones, Elder Scrolls Online, there's like the elf who's got like this green magic nonsense. Then there's the big Nord guy with this enormous axe, and it's big action set pieces, lots of like work gone into it. I really like that because I think it's really entertaining, and it gives you a flavor of what they're trying to say, like in story and like tone and that sort of thing. Because putting a story trailer doesn't always do it justice, because it's still a trailer and it's like cut together and stuff. Whereas if you do one of these CGI ones, that is essentially a story in itself that doesn't represent exactly what will happen, but it's a flavor, and it's like, this is the tone we're trying to set. The Knights of the Old Republic ones are really good for that, because in that there's a sequence where there's a bunch of Sith and a bunch of Jedi and they're taking each other out. The game is never going to be able to actually deliver that, but it sets the stakes of it being like a galaxy-wide war with loads of people involved on the Sith and the Jedi, and it's going to be a big deal. Yeah. So
this it's a very deep, tricky topic, and we're not going to solve it all right here, right now. But we do want to know what you feel and how you think about this, and what anything you got to add down in the comments. I think. Do you have any more comments? But I think I'm done.
I think I had one more, but I will just double check. Oh yeah, I felt like I needed another excuse to bag on Anthem just a little bit, because it's on the Anthem downgrade video as well, and I thought this was quite funny. That feeling when the only redeeming feature about your game are the graphics, and they're worse than what was advertised. Yeah. So it's like, oh well, yeah, the Anthem looks pretty. Yeah, but it's still not as good as it was it?
Not as good as it looked, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that gave me a little chuckle.
Rip Anthem. If anyone, I don't know, if anyone's playing that game and enjoying it, more power to you.
Yeah. If you're having fun,
have it.
Good.
Do it.
Don't let anyone take away your fun.
I feel like there's so much clickbait around Anthem right now. It's like, oh my God, what are they doing? Oh,
they've done
Anthem
what now?
This, Anthem that.
Same when Fallout was having its shit show. I was like, I'm so done with the Fallout 76 dead horse. Just it's shit.
I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and sticking through this one today. Because my brain just hasn't been functioning today. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to lie down now.
A little nap.
Half an hour. But thanks for watching. That is it for podcast number 8. We will be back. We don't know whether it'll be in the basement next week. We'll have to wait and see. We might have got a better set, but for now, this is what it is. We will see you again in the next one. Until then, bye for now.